Go. We're live.
This is the Ethan and Mark College Basketball Hour, where we discuss everything going on in the college basketball world.
Everything.
So I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Mark. This is my brother Ethan. Talk about kind of a brief history of my passion for the sport and why I like it so much. I started watching around 2003, 2004. Right around the Carmelo Anthony run when he led them to the national championship. And in 2004 when UConn and Emeka Okafor and Ben Gordon won the championship. I've followed the tournament religiously the whole season. I could tell you everything that's happened. And I just think it's the best sport out there. That's just kind of my little brief history with the sport. This is my brother.
My name's Ethan. I got back into college basketball really when Kemba Walker really started making his run with UConn, really started carrying his team against his back and led him all the way to the national championship. And honestly, that's what really got me hooked on it because I didn't think there's any better story in sports as far as riding your own tail through a tournament and riding off a hot player like that. I mean, it's exciting to watch. It's just pure joy, and there's no better story you could tell through the eye of sports.
So, we've watched the whole tournament. I mean, we've watched the whole season. Mind you, we're huge UCLA fans. We're from LA.
Of course. West Coast.
So we're a little bit disappointed since Lonzo didn't show up.
Back to pack, baby. Oregon. Back to pack.
We'll get into that. We're going to give you our thoughts on the teams in the Final Four and kind of the tournament overall.
Final four teams.
I guess we'll start with South Carolina. That's probably the most surprising team.
Yeah. Honestly, it all starts for them on the defensive side of the ball. And what they've been able to do with Thornwell, being able to really ride his back throughout the tournament, and which I believe, and my brother as well, I know, really thinks he's been the most outstanding player of the tournament by far.
Thus far, he has single-handedly carried that team the whole way, and I would say he's definitely the MOP so far. Now, we were actually discussing this off air earlier.
But Tyler Dorsey has a strong case. Definitely has a strong case. Don't sleep on him.
So we were discussing this off air earlier, and I think I personally don't think South Carolina's run is all that impressive. I know they've been getting a lot of pub, and a lot of people seem to think that their run is one of the best runs in recent memory, and one of the most surprising at that. I personally don't think it's all that surprising. I mean, it is somewhat surprising, and I don't think it's all that impressive. The first round, they were a favorite, a slight betting favorite against Marquette.
Yeah, and something else people tend to forget is the formula for the tournament as well. Mark always says this, defense and guards, which Thornwell, being a guard, has been really lifting him. Felder, giving him good minutes off the bench, coming off.
Thornwell's more of a forward, but okay,
yeah, stretch forward. You know.
But so they started off with Marquette. Granted, in this tournament, you're supposed to play at neutral sites, and you're not supposed to play close to home unless you're a higher seed. They were a 7 seed, so they were supposed to be sent somewhere far from home. They actually got to play in the state of South Carolina, so they
really fortunate off that.
So they had a home court advantage in the first 2 rounds.
Definitely.
And I personally think that helped them immensely. I mean, you're basically getting a home court advantage in the first 2 rounds. So they beat Marquette rather easily, took over at the end of the game. That was expected. I thought they would win that game. Next game they played was against Duke,
which is also in South Carolina, and
they're in North Carolina.
North Carolina at this point. They're in North Carolina at this point.
Duke's not in North Carolina. Do you know your geography?
No, I'm saying South Carolina, where they're playing, where the site was where they played the game.
I just said that.
Okay, I'm saying they're playing their second round game in South Carolina.
I just said that.
Okay.
Anyone, when you play in the tournament, your 2 games are in one specific region. You don't play one game and then jump to another.
But not everyone knows that. We know that, but I'm talking to the viewers out there.
I'm not sure you knew that, but
all right.
Okay. So they played Duke, scored 65 points in the second half, basically couldn't miss a shot. I believe they scored 23 points in the first half. any key possession, everything was bouncing the right way. Duke, who had just made a run through the ACC tournament where they won that 4 games in 4 days, couldn't hit a 3 to save their life in the second half.
Their stars went cold.
Yeah.
Their stars definitely went cold. That's something that a lot of people don't talk about. Kennard wasn't really hitting his shots. Tatum, I would have liked to see him get more drives to the basket, which he was, but I feel like he wasn't getting his points towards the end. And, something with Duke as well, I feel like they think they have enough star power to where if they're ever behind in a game, they know they could get back. And that's kind of the hole they ended up falling in.
They did that a lot in the ACC tournament.
Yes, definitely. And they thought they could come back, but obviously, it's too late. It's too late pretty much within the game. So, like, you gotta think about it,
I mean, so what happens in this tournament, teams can get hot. South Carolina got really hot. They knocked out the team I thought was probably the favorite going in.
Definitely.
Was probably playing the best as well. But it did help, like I said, that they were in South Carolina. So heading into the Sweet 16, they matched up with Baylor. Baylor, who kind of tailed off at the end of the year, lost to Kansas State twice.
Yeah, bad loss.
What no one talks about is Frank Martin, who's been at South Carolina for 5 years now. First time he's taken them to the tournament. Before he coached there, he coached at Kansas State. Because of that, he's very familiar with what Scott Drew likes to run. He played him year after year, and actually South Carolina and Baylor played the 2 years prior to this one as well. So I don't think that was as hard of a game for him because he really he knew Scott Drew inside and out.
And again, their defense was on swarm, on a tear that game. Holding Baylor to 50 points is something a lot of people weren't talking about, and was really good. Just shows how defensively gifted they are, and that truly they could hang with anyone. If you could play defense and you have a guard that's showing up for you game in and game out like Thornwell, you're gonna hang in a lot of games.
And then Elite Eight, we watched that game. That's actually their third time playing this year. They play in the same conference. They split the 2 games in the regular season. So if ever there was going to be an easy, Florida's very good.
Don't get that twisted.
Devan Robinson, Casey Hill, Kayvon Allen.
Which, by the way, has all those guys pretty much returning next year. So they'll be
except
good
for
again.
Casey Hill.
They'll be good again.
But I thought that was somewhat of an easy Sweet 16 Elite 8 matchups for them. So it's still impressive, but I don't think it's up there with where everyone else is putting it. So, that's my take.
Yeah.
So, Oregon probably impressed us the most, I would say.
Yeah, honestly.
Of everyone.
Look, I'm watching the Kansas game, and as much as it's impressive that Oregon took the lead and everything, you're not really expecting them to win. It's cool. They're winning at the half. Blah blah. This. It's cool. It wasn't expected by any means, but towards the half, you're kind of believing, okay, when's Kansas gonna wake up? They have these guards, these superstars, Josh Jackson, phenomenal all year. Are they gonna show up in the second half, and are they gonna take over and win this game? Which I thought they would, but as a result of the game didn't look like they did. Didn't look like they had enough juice at the end.
Well, I think a lot of the people were down on them after the Chris Boucher injury. The Rhode Island game, too, was...
another close one.
And I think that kind of... because of that, people weren't as high on them because they probably should have lost that game. I don't know if you remember that 4-point swing where they...
definitely.
They hit the initial free throw, the 1-and-1, and then got the rebound on the second missed free throw and hit a 3. And then obviously the Tyler Dorsey 3 at the end.
Got to shout out to Tyler Dorsey though, the pride of Pasadena. Really coming through this tournament, making multiple big threes. Can't even count them. There was one possession I remember in the Elite 8 game where they weren't running any offense towards the basket.
They were up 6.
Yeah, and I'm what's Oregon doing? At this point, but. Tyler Dorsey, once again, bails him out with another clutch 3. So shout out to Mr. March right there.
Yeah. Tough win against Michigan. Michigan was probably the hottest team coming in.
And very easily could have lost that game with a last second shot by Derek Walton, which barely hit the rim, but was very close, very close.
So a lot of people were picking them to go far, especially after the Louisville win. Great offense. hit a lot of threes.
Bracket buster.
But yeah, the Oregon win was very surprising to me because it was in Kansas City, and
Tough game.
It was basically like playing in Fog Allen,
Pretty much.
and West Coast schools, whether it's right or wrong, have this rep of being soft.
Look, we've taken out many blue bloods. I mean, Oregon has throughout this run. Probably could have lost games during Rhode Island, but that just shows how battle tested they were throughout their run. Because when it came to holding down your lead or coming back within a game, Oregon didn't let down, and everyone I feel like was sleeping on them. A lot of people were picking them to go to the Final Four. Kind of half and half. Were they going to be the same team without Chris Boucher? But I'm sure they've pretty much said, ignore the talk of the media, blah blah this. We're gonna do our own thing, and here they are. And Dana Altman is their head coach. You said,
yeah.
Getting his first trip to the Final Four, which as well as two other coaches in this tournament, which I find funny as well. 0 Final Four experience. So we'll see what that plays instead of the Final Four. How that plays.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with their team. They were a 1 seed last year, made the Elite Eight, lost to Buddy Hield's Oklahoma team.
Yeah, very good team.
And they have a lot of interchangeable parts. A lot of Dylan Brooks, Jordan Bell. Really like the freshman Peyton Pritchard. Dorsey being a sophomore. He played big last year as well. And I really like the way they defend. They don't really get enough credit on the defensive end. I think people are just enamored with their offense. With that, I think probably our favorite game of the weekend was the Carolina-Kentucky game.
Yeah, very close game. Very close game. I really wanted to see Kentucky win, mostly in the part that, I don't know, I just don't really like North Carolina, just never have. I mean, Michael Jordan's school, shout out to Michael Jordan, of course, greatest of all time for sure. But, just kind of always follow Kentucky since, Anthony Davis, just always know Coach Cal's bringing in good recruits. And it was kind of like...
Whether he's cheating or not.
I mean, debatable. But, Coach Cal, I think he's a great coach, and I just felt like he deserved it in the end.
I don't think he's a good in-game coach, but he's a great recruiter. But okay.
Well, I mean, let's see. I mean, you tell me what other team had two better freshmen than Malik Monk and Darian Fox. Darian Fox shoot out our Bruins for 39 points. So let me know. I
know.
I know you want to call him a washed-up Rajon Rondo, but I mean the kid's proved you wrong.
He can't shoot. I'm just saying his game doesn't translate to the league.
But I mean, when Malik Monk, he got a couple good. It's a playmaker. Malik Monk is a playmaker. Darian Fox, same thing. I really thought they were going to come through in the game within North Carolina, but obviously they didn't. I think the veteran leadership really came through in the end for North Carolina. Joel Berry coming out of the locker room from halftime with the tweaked ankle, not knowing how he's going to respond, making some clutch shots towards the end. Josh Jackson, same thing, junior.
Well, I think their length really bothered them. You could tell when Fox was driving in, he had trouble with their size. Kennedy Meeks had 17 rebounds.
Yeah, definitely a monster on the boards.
Luke Mays, him stepping up and giving them that production. Not only the shot at the end that everyone's going to remember, but he had a couple clutch shots earlier in the game. He had a big three earlier,
and a really huge shift with the N1 play that he converted.
Yeah. And there was a loose ball he got at the end. Remember when they had the possession arrow? No one talked about that one because of the big Monk threes that he had at the end. I personally don't think they're as good as last year's team, the team that had Bryce Johnson and Marcus Page. I know Justin Jackson's gotten a lot better. He shot under 30% from three last year, and he's over 40 this year, or I think somewhere around 40. Isaiah Hicks has really stepped up. Getting Bradley this year, he's been a big contributor. I do like their team, but I don't know if they'd be my pick to win it all, and I think that's the favorite right now, right?
Yeah, but another team that we should probably, have our star on, the Zags. People aren't really going to talk about the Zags, but, the Zags have really impressed me through the tournament, coming, really blowing teams out, having one close one with West Virginia, I'd rather say, too close for comfort, I might say, is really Gonzaga going to coach it?
That was an ugly game. That was
are they really going to choke like another time? Are they not going to make a Final Four when they're supposed to?
Like Arizona did.
Yeah. But, you know what? End of the day, I'm going to back the West Coast, and I'm hoping that the Zags and Oregon can really come through within this Final Four. So, the expectations are high for the Zags. That's all I got to say.
Well, based on Ken Palm and Sagarin ratings and stuff like that, they love them. I think the reason a lot of people were so down on them is because they play in the West Coast Conference year after year, and people don't think they play anyone. When earlier in the year they played, Florida, they played Iowa State. They had some rather competitive games and won all those, and they were 29-0, I think, before they lost to BYU at home. I think this team. I think they probably had the easiest road of the four, but I think people sleep on how good they are defensively.
A lot of length.
Yeah, offensively they have a lot of options, but on the defensive end, Jonathan Williams is a great defender. You got Big Shimmick inside, Williams Goss on the perimeter. So, and they looked really impressive in that win against Xavier, who kind of ran out of gas. Yeah, but the West Virginia game was definitely a tough one. Played with West Virginia style, and they managed to grind it out and win with that horrible possession, the Javon Carter possession at the end. 2 threes. And
yeah. You know what? West Virginia couldn't get a basket when they needed it most. Going to Javon Carter all game. Hoping that he gets you another.
I think they made 14 field goals the whole game.
Yeah, you know what? Like, towards the end, I really didn't like their play calling. They were kind of playing hero ball with Javon Carter towards the end, which really ended up costing them the game because they couldn't really get any more offense from any more of their players, which hurt them in the long run. But something I think we should talk about is how important these Final Four matchups are, because a lot of people are still asking, is South Carolina going to continue dancing, or is North Carolina going to take it all because they're a blue blood? Like, should we sleep on these other teams, or are they really going to be competitive towards the end with all of them getting to the first Final Four? 2 of them getting to their first Final Four, and one of them making the first Final Four since 1939. So then with one blue blood.
Yeah, who was there last year? Yeah, the national championship last year.
Yeah, looking for revenge, definitely.
Well, the Gonzaga game, Gonzaga was a 6.5 point favorite, I think, last time I checked. I personally am really high on Gonzaga. I just think South Carolina hasn't really seen size like that yet in the tournament. I mean, I guess you could say Baylor was somewhat big, but they're very challenged offensively. They struggle to shoot. I think they made 4 field goals in the first half of their game.
Yikes.
So I really think South Carolina's going to have problems there. Also, South Carolina really struggles to score inside. I mean, I really love Thornwell and Dozier.
Yeah, and don't be surprised if the big guys get in foul trouble early with Shimmick trying to defend Shimmick and his big body. So that's another key that will play into the game for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they're great defensively, so they'll probably keep the game within striking distance, but I just don't know if they're going to have enough scoring. I mean, that was coming into the tournament, they lost 6 out of 9 games.
Yeah, so definitely not a hot start going into the tournament for sure.
But, I mean, they had challenges offensively throughout the year. So, I just think they've been a little hot, and obviously Thornwell's performance has helped them. So, in the other game, I actually think there might be a chance of an upset here.
Yeah, I wouldn't sleep on Oregon. Not pulling off the upset against North Carolina. Everyone wants to talk about North Carolina this, running gun, have multiple shooters, could really get their points down low inside, pick your poison pretty much. But the thing a lot of people don't talk about in Oregon, what made this run is they've been making their shots. They've been hitting their shots and hitting big shots when they've been needed them to advance forward. And if it comes down to a close game, bet you I'm putting my money on Oregon. Definitely.
Yeah, if anything, Dylan Brooks has probably been the 3rd best player on the team in the tournament, which is crazy to say.
Yeah, and he's a sharpshooter. Obviously, evident from how he played all season. Winning Pac-12 Player of the Year, coming through with a lot of big shots towards the end against UCLA. Another one against Cal towards the end of the season. So I mean, if he's not down to make a big shot, you best believe Mr. March Tyler Dorsey will be.
Again, I think they'll struggle with Carolina's length a little bit. Carolina's really big inside. Kansas didn't really have any inside presence, as well as Michigan. So I think they've kind of dodged a bullet there, and I'm interested to see how they match up against their bigs. Jordan Bell's a great defender, and we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, 8 blocks.
But honestly, my pick, if I had to pick someone, I think Gonzaga is probably going to win this. again, I think people are sleeping on them because they've never been to the Final Four. This is the first year they've made it since their run to the Elite Eight in '99, and I don't think a lot of people have watched them. Most of their games are at 10 o'clock at night on the West Coast, so everyone on the East Coast is asleep. I just personally think they've been the best team in the country for some time now, and I think they're going to win it all. When I think a lot of people are leaning the way of Carolina. So,
look, I'll make a valid point why all these teams should win. You know, if North Carolina ends up winning, it's going to definitely be because, you know, their veteran leadership, being able to make big shots, key contributors like Luke May, or rather it be Pinson, you know, someone coming off the bench. As far as Oregon, it's going to be their big play, the big shots coming through. Dylan Brooks, Tyler Dorsey carrying their team to another win and outstanding defensive play. But as far as Oregon, I'm probably going to pick them as my dark horse pick to win the tournament. Reason being is because they've been able to make big shots all this tournament. And without really Dylan Brooks playing all that well, I think maybe last tournament game was like the best game he had all tournament. And that's like even crazy to say because he didn't really put up that crazy of numbers. But as much as everyone wants to talk about that, you know, I feel like they're playing within the team, and it looks like they have a lot of confidence when everyone doubted them going into the tournament, making this Final Four run. And I don't see, you know, Frank Martin said it to South Carolina. Why not them? Why not us? You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, in the end, I kind of want West Coast schools to represent, so I wouldn't mind seeing the Zags win against South Carolina, but I could easily see South Carolina winning that game and sneaking into the championship game. Definitely.
So, I guess we'll wrap up with this. What has surprised you the most in this tournament? Now, we've been watching this nonstop for 2 weeks.
You know,
outside of the things we talked about, like
yeah,
South Carolina thing,
yeah, definitely.
Oregon
You know, the thing that disappointed me the most this tournament, I mean, it was good for other reasons, but it was a lack of good mid-majors being able to pull off the upsets. I really thought there was going to be...
I mean, there wasn't a ton of them in to begin with.
Yeah, definitely. Well, this
I guess I worded that wrong. What do you think was the most surprising story or run or lack thereof, whether someone got eliminated early? What surprised you the most? One or two things?
Man, all right. One would probably be, you know, Duke losing to South Carolina. I mean, I know South Carolina's run was no fluke, but, I mean, a lot of people aren't going to, like, really look at this, but god damn was Duke talented. I mean, how many McDonald's All-Americans did they have on the squad?
Yeah, they had anywhere from 7 to 9. Like
exactly. And, I mean, you have guys that could go off at any minute with Kennard, Grayson Allen, and Tatum. That's 3 people right there all together.
Harry Giles was playing a lot better.
Yes, Harry Giles was playing a lot better. I mean, and it's just like...
Jefferson inside.
It's crazy to say that these guys were, like, mostly the favorites to win it all, and they were out by the second round. They didn't even make it to the second weekend. Like, that's crazy to say. Yeah. Bananas.
To me, the most surprising thing, I think, was the Xavier run. Granted, they
Blew it played out of his mind.
They had a easy first weekend. They had Maryland, who wasn't playing that well coming in, and Florida State, who a lot of us were wary of.
Yeah.
And didn't even think they deserved a 3 seed. The shocking one was the Arizona game to me. I really thought Arizona had a shot to win the national championship. And for them to win that, I guess it did help that Sean Miller is an ex-Xavier head coach, and Chris Mack was his assistant at one point, so they do know each other pretty well. They did play him pretty tough in the tournament 2 years ago. But yeah, that shocked me. There was a stretch there for about a month where the only team they beat was DePaul. Losing Edmund Sumner, I was starting to doubt that they weren't even going to make the tournament.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of disbelief in that team for sure.
I really didn't see that coming. They shot the ball really well during the tournament. Yeah, that was shocking, given the fact that they had a better team last year as a 2 seed and got bounced in the second round, and having to make an Elite Eight run with this team was nowhere near as talented as last year's. And I think outside of that...
a question I have for you, Mark, are you satisfied with the outcome of the tournament thus far? Like, was this like everything you expected as far as the tournament, or like pretty disappointed as far as it like being not as good a tournament because not a lot of upsets? Or what's your take on that? I didn't mind the fact that there wasn't any like huge
upsets early, I guess.
What would you say for the casual viewer that's really hoping for upsets in that case?
I mean, there was upsets later with like the South Carolina game and the Xavier game, and things like that. So we did definitely get our upsets later. USC over SMU in the first round. A lot of people had SMU going for. Yeah, I mean, there was a lack of that. I thought there was a lack of great games overall. We had a few every now and then. Lack of great finishes, I think, is what disappointed me. We did get that Florida game, though, in the Sweet 16, and then this Kentucky game. We were super hyped for the UCLA-Kentucky game.
But you know what?
That didn't really pan out.
Yeah, that didn't really pan out. I mean, the first half looked great, but the second half really tailed off as Kentucky really started to hit some big shots and really
couldn't stop Fox.
Yeah, come away with the lead.
39. Yeah, I mean, it's not one of the better tournaments I've seen. I've definitely seen better ones. It's interesting Final Four, though. I'm happy with who we got. Seeing the West Coast represented, Gonzaga making their first Final Four, South Carolina making this run, and then North Carolina, the runner-up last year, possibly winning it all this year. But as a lot, I feel like the second week was a lot better than the first week, and I think we will have some good games this weekend. So,
yeah, I would say the same thing. I'm pretty satisfied with this tournament, how it went. Being a UCLA fan though, like I really had a lot of high hopes, but end of the day, I'm gonna be biased because UCLA everything, UCLA that, but in the end, they couldn't really have any defense to really boost a run for themselves. So, I mean, seeing them go out in the round of 16 was very disappointing. A lot of high hopes, a lot of people picking them as their championship winner. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Mark?
Yeah, in March they call a lot of games close, and I was telling you the whole year I didn't really like their chances to win it all. I watched them play over 20 times this year, and they could definitely score the ball easier than anyone in the country, but just like they proved in that Kentucky game, their perimeter defense was god-awful, and they couldn't stop any guard who can score. I think we kind of got exposed in a couple of the Arizona games, and Oregon should have beat us twice, and really kind of showed our lack of defense on the perimeter. So they do have the number 2 recruiting class coming in next year, and hopefully TJ Leaf and Ike Anabogu stay. But yeah, I mean, good riddance in terms of Lonzo, right?
I mean, man, I liked the way he played. I mean, I wish him best of luck because he is a former Bruin at this point, and hopefully brings me more joy on the Lakers. But I mean, that's debatable. Who wants him or who doesn't? But I mean, towards the end, Lonzo really started.
The Lakers need a lot more help than that.
Yeah, definitely. But hey, that's another topic for a different time. You know what I'm saying? But UCLA in a whole. I guess I could say it was kind of a satisfying season. Really seeing like the way that they were playing was really fun to watch. I like that type of play. Just hacking up threes. I mean, hacking up threes really that's kind of what I would do if I played.
Oh, great passing! I think Lonzo really
sure.
Had an effect on the team, and they loved playing with each other. But it seems like whenever they face any type of adversity, they would just fold.
Yeah.
So. Did you see the post-game interview with Darian Fox where he was crying after the...
Yeah, and everyone says that, like, Lonzo has no heart because, like, he didn't cry.
I don't think he has heart.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what you... I think you're just thinking too much in the moment.
No, I think after the game, he couldn't wait to say he was going to go to the NBA.
Like you're saying,
I don't think he cared.
He checked out pretty much?
Yeah, I think he got punched in the mouth and he folded.
See, but who do you want... Like, are you talking about, like, who, in terms of who you want to draft because of the heart, or?
Well, he's showing that he's not competitive. That game didn't matter to him. It was a Sweet 16 against Kentucky. What more do you need?
But that's still knock on his talent.
Okay. But why do we say Jordan's the best player ever?
Because of his competitiveness, of course.
Right. Obviously his skill, but his competitiveness. I wouldn't want that guy on my team.
But like, all right. What can you give an example as like what kind of player was Lonzo in college? Like, who could you compare him to that you've seen in the past?
Jason Kidd.
No,
probably,
not
without the defense.
not play style. I'm saying like in college, kind of like laid back, didn't really care like that, but was a good prospect going into the draft.
In recent memory, at point, I don't know. It's hard to come up with someone off the top of my head. I guess some people might compare him to Simmons, but we haven't seen Simmons play in the league yet because he's been hurt. I guess I would say that same attitude to me is kind of Dwight Howard-esque. And look at what a cancer Dwight Howard has become. And he had his run with the Magic when his back was fine. I mean, granted, the guy's had back problems his whole career.
Definitely.
But someone like that, you see how ultra-competitive Kobe is, and that's the reason he didn't want to be there anymore, because he didn't want to deal with that, and he didn't care. I think Lonzo's the same way. So, and I think that's part of the reason why they lost that game.
Yeah, fair point. I mean, look, that's really our take on everything we have to say as far as UCLA making that run, what's going on throughout the tournament and stuff like that. You know, college basketball is very big for me and Mark. And, you know, to really see it kind of wrap up, you know, with there only being 3 games left in the whole season, it's kind of come to a wrap pretty quick, if you would rather say so. With, you know, just like within a flash, like we're already seeing the end of this college basketball season.
So with that, hopefully we get some feedback from you guys, and then see what you guys want us to talk about. And
yeah, definitely. We have, believe me, there's like many things we could talk about. I mean, this is the only sport we're into.
Other tournaments. I mean, we cover every sport.
Yeah.
Talk about other tournaments.
Go Cubs.
I actually know where all these guys, anyone in the league went to college. We could do one of those where you try to stump me.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully we'll record something soon, probably giving you a recap of the Final Four as well as the National Championship.
Definitely. We'll definitely do that.
Definitely send us some questions or tell us what you like, what you didn't like, and what we can focus on more.
Yeah, if you'd like to see a Q&A, or like, we're very open to different
formats.
Different formats that you guys would like to see, or, you know, just very like fan base. Like we want to interact with you guys. Like the show's all about like your fans and what they want to see, you know? So, I mean, sports, whether it be sports shows, you know, just knowledge in general, whatever. I mean, just leave suggestions. We'd like to hear them.
Yeah, so with that, that's a wrap.